You guys got
the
me?
Draft is where the Tennessee Titans sit with the number 1 pick. Clearly need a quarterback. Damian, it just seems like Cam Ward has started to become the consensus number 1 pick. Is that how you view it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's my QB1. He's my top quarterback graded in this class, and I think it's the bevy of the combination of arm talent, accuracy, pre-snap, knowledge. The guy has that kind of veteran leadership at the line of scrimmage, calling plays, making checks, but also using his snap count and his cadence like a veteran NFL quarterback to make defenses get out of their disguised shells and show them what they're running. I think this guy has franchise potential, and the Tennessee Titans need a guy like this to run that offense and take them to that next level.
Enticing for Tennessee to pass up. Seems like that's the way it's going. So then naturally we got to transition into Shedeur Sanders. Like, where does he end up? We've seen, anywhere from the Giants to the Browns to maybe even deeper into the first round. Why do you think, as you gave the reasons that Cam Ward has separated himself, why do you think Shedeur is kind of in this interesting place where we don't really have it pegged where he might go?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit muddied for Shedeur. I think for me, if I'm the Browns and I know I need to fix my quarterback room, I'm taking him, right? I think the Giants were a little weary that the Browns would take him, so they went and signed 2 veterans, and I think that's kind of where the situation is at this point. Some of it is like stuff that he really can't control. His dad's Deion, Sanders, Coach Prime over at Colorado. He comes with a not bravado, but like a confidence in himself. And people feel like I've talked to some scouts that feel like, hey, yeah, it could be a little bit, not much of a circus, but almost in the sense of, well, they worry about the LeVar Ball, LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball situation. I was like, I don't think that Coach Prime, who just signed his extension, is going to be that heavily involved. He's got some recruiting to do over at Colorado. I think he's going to be more focused with that. But that, and then the fact of like Shedeur doesn't have the greatest tools, physical tools. And I think that's starting to play a part in it as well.
Does Shedeur, though, have, the arm talent, the poise? He got sacked a whole lot, put a lot of it on his O-line, maybe put a little bit of it on him. I mean, he does have, that kind of pro mind, though, it seems. That high IQ, and what we saw from him at Colorado, and obviously just who his dad is.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been mentored by Tom Brady, right? You go back to 2023, they played with Colorado State, a team that is one of their biggest rivals. And, it was a physical game, and it went down to the wire, went into overtime, and he led them on the 90-plus yard drive to take it to overtime, and then eventually win, if I remember correctly, that it went into overtime. He has that clutch kind of gene in him. But as you said, like, it is some of the drifting in the pocket, holding the ball in the pocket. Like, he built up some bad habits that if you go back to Jackson State before he got to Colorado, he didn't have those same negative habits in the pocket. He was viewed a little bit cleaner there and getting behind that offensive line that wasn't robust. I think that did play a negative part in his development. And I think for me, he's a point guard type of quarterback. And I think any NFL team that wants a guy that can get the ball to their players, be accurate, be concise, and deliver the ball with good timing, that's what Shedeur Sanders is going to be able to do for you.
All right, Travis Hunter, Shedeur's teammate at Colorado, obviously fantastic two-way player, one of the best we've ever seen, Heisman Trophy winner. Clearly looks like a top 5 pick, right? What team would most interest you in terms of if they got Travis Hunter and how they would deploy him?
Oh, the New England Patriots, right off the rip. And I think it's because of the fact they have Christian Gonzalez, they have they brought in Carlton Davis into that cornerback room. Alex Austin was the 3rd-year player out of Oregon State. And I just feel like, okay, they need a number 1 wide receiver, right? You couldn't go and get T. Higgins. He re-signed in Cincinnati. You need to give Drake May that guy. Now, they do have Stephon Diggs, which was good, but he's also north of 30, I believe, like 31 or somewhere in there. He's coming off an ACL. Like, there's just a lot of pressure coming for a guy that's coming off an injury later in his career. I think if they were to go get Travis Hunter, I would be very intrigued because Mike Vrabel even stated, I think at the NFL League Owners meeting, yeah, they view him as a two-way guy, that they're willing to let him play corner and wide receiver. And I think with his wide receiver snaps with Drake May and that offense would be outstanding and a lot of fun to watch.
I mean, you have a scouting background, Damian, so how do you balance this in the NFL? It is literally and figuratively a different league than doing it in the Big 12. How do you do that and have the impact on both sides early on with Travis Hunter?
think if you're going to play him at full-time wide receiver or like mainly wide receiver, that's where it gets a little more tricky. Well, if you're playing him as a full-time corner, the plan is simply, hey, you're going to play full-time corner, and we're going to have a package of about 20 plays that we can get for you on offense, right? Not saying he's going to play all 20 of those, he's going to run all 20 of those plays, but you have that nice little package where, especially if you have a wide receiver one, that, and you have a solid two, he can come in and be that third, the fourth guy in the 11, maybe some 10 personnel, things of that nature, and spread the defense, east and west horizontally. But if he's playing full-time receiver, that's where it gets a little more difficult, because you're like, okay, we're gonna need you in late in games as the receiver to be energized, to be running these routes, to go full speed, catch the ball, be focused. If he's playing corner, yeah, you play him full-time corner, you put him at his position that I think he has the highest upside and ceiling at, and then you allow him to then also be that kind of supplemental playmaker on offense from time to time.
All right, I think by now, Damian, Panthers fans have put it completely out of their mind that they have a chance at Abdul Carter. Where is his stock right now? Because there have been some just off-season nagging injury stuff where he hasn't really been able to display his talents on the field like he did all season and postseason.
Yeah, that stress fracture definitely threw off his postseason kind of tour, right, for the NFL and for the NFL draft. I think it starts at 2 to Cleveland. I think Cleveland is a legitimate spot for them, for him. And it's just a simple fact of understanding we got to contend and we got to get to Lamar Jackson. We have to. You have no choice. You got to get to Joe Burrow because he has all of his weapons now. Everybody signed on his offense that he needs to have signed, and they're happy. So they're going to be walking into the season happy without the contracts hanging over their head. He's going to be out for blood in this AFC North. You got to be able to get to them. And I think Abdul Carter paired with Myles Garrett, with TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, he doesn't see as many double teams over his career as a Myles Garrett because he's had complementary rushers. Give Myles Garrett that guy. I think Cleveland's the spot at 2, and then I could see him if he fell, past 2. If Cleveland goes Shedeur at 3, it's a real conversation. That 3 to 4 spot, I don't think he makes it past 4 with New England. I think that he could be a pick for the Giants, even though they have Kayvon Thibodeau, they signed or traded for and then gave the contract to Brian Burns. If you think back to their championship rosters, they could go what we call NASCAR. They went with 4 defensive ends on the field to get to Tom Brady multiple times in 2 different Super Bowls. I could see them kind of going in that direction and adding that guy, especially with Kayvon battling some of the injuries. So I think he doesn't make it outside of the top 4. If he falls to 5 or something like that to Jacksonville, that would be very interesting because I can honestly see them then making that move and kicking Trayvon Walker kind of into that 3-tech 4-eye role as an interior defensive lineman, and then you have yourself like a legitimate defensive line to close the pocket on the quarterback.
For 2 to the Browns. The Browns, in the span of like a month, went from we're not going to have Myles Garrett anymore to we could have Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter, and I guess we'll just put somebody out there at quarterback and still compete
right.
for the division.
Right, Kirk Cousins. I think that's a landing spot. Getting him paired with Kevin Stefanski to run that offense. I think he can run it well. The main thing is like, hey, okay, he'll be a year removed from the injury altogether. A year and a half removed from the surgery, if I'm not mistaken. By the time the season comes around, so you should feel like he's actually 100%. Where Atlanta was hoping and banking he was 100%, and he started off fine, but he fizzled off in the middle of the season. So I think that's what if they went with Abdul Carter, we could probably see a Kirk Cousins, leading that offense for the Cleveland Browns in 2025.
All right, again, we are here with Damian Parson from Locked On NFL Draft. They're a daily podcast. Damian joining me here on the Live Impact News on WCNC+. And if you're just catching up with this conversation, we are going to put it all on our YouTube page shortly. So, and we're about to dive into Panthers here, Damian. But first, you guys have a mock draft coming up. I know you guys have a lot of fun with that. When can we see that? And then I'll get into your thoughts about what the Panthers are going to do in that mock draft.
Yeah, we are in pre-production. We should be shooting everything in the next couple days into next week. Try to get everything fully finished, so it should be available. I would say not next week, more than likely, but the week after, right before the draft. It's a lot of fun. We have a host for all 32 teams. They make trades when they need to. They make picks, things of that nature. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited to see where some of these players fall in our company-wide mock.
To tap in with Julian Council, who covers the Panthers for Locked On, and see what his thoughts are. But happy to get yours on the Panthers, Damian, as always. Pick number 8. I mean, you talk about Abdul Carter starting to creep down to 4 or 5, like trade up. I mean, the Panthers don't seem like a likely trade up candidate, but if there's a guy that's falling into that range that they don't think will come back to them, do you think they have the capacity to make that move?
I think they should definitely consider it, right? Because I think with Abdul Carter, you're getting a guy with the elite first step quickness, elite bend, in turning and cornering around the outside shoulder of tackles. A guy that has the ability to work the inside counters and everything. And I like this is a guy who's only played edge rusher in college one full season. This is just a tip of the iceberg for him. And I think this is a guy that can come in and be a 10 sack season, as a rookie, come in and get 10 sacks as that go-to guy, that go-to edge rusher, especially with the reinforcements on the interior defensive line to help stop the run. Bobby Brown getting back Derek Brown as well. I think Tartan or from Kansas City, blanking on his name, but like getting him in there, I think like doing that, if you can go up, just because you won't have to give up a king's ransom to go from 8 to potentially 5 if he fell to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's like, hey, we might want to move down, right? You won't have to give a king's ransom, but I think at 8, that's going to be a very interesting decision, because honestly, I've heard that they might be a team they're a team that's considering trading down, is what I've heard. If the guy that they want or truly desire, or the value isn't there in their opinion, they could probably trade down if they can get a trade partner. But I think you look at Jalen Walker, the edge rusher from Georgia, that hybrid linebacker edge, 6'1", 6'2", 245, like 32 and some change on the arm. This guy, I call him the Tasmanian Devil. He's physical, got a good get off. He's another guy that's not fully refined. He's not reached his ceiling. And in this Evero odd front defense, he kind of fits that like if you want to play him as full-time edge, which I think they need to, because I don't think you don't want to put him in that Frankie Louvu role, because Evero didn't use Frankie Louvu the way Frankie Louvu needed to be used. And we saw that once he went to Washington with Dan Quinn. So I would play him as a full-time edge, and I would let him get after the quarterback. If you want to play him as an off-ball, make him the sandbacker, strong side guy that can let line head up to those tight ends. He can set the edge. He can get into the backfield. He's going to be very difficult for tight ends to just block and consume in the run game. And then on third downs, you let him go. You let him free. And I think that is a situation, pairing him with Derek Brown, I think he can develop pretty quickly playing more full-time edge snaps at the next level.
Yeah, definitely need to get after somebody that can get after the quarterback, and obviously somebody that can stop the run, but Walker would absolutely improve that. So, Damian, I don't know if you follow like Panthers Twitter, but it's been a journey for them with Jalen Walker, right? It's like first after they realized, no, we're not going to get Abdul Carter. This is the guy we want. And then it was, no, he's not worth a top 10 pick. And now it's hopefully he's still there at 8. Where do you view Jalen Walker just in terms of like your rankings of prospects overall?
Yeah, he's closer to the bottom of the top 10 for me, in the 10 to 12 range as a prospect. I think he will be available for them at 8. I did see someone mention that maybe he could be a fit for the Raiders. I just don't particularly see that at 6. Especially if like a Will Johnson's there, if a Mason Graham has fallen to him, Ashton Genty's there. I think that there's guys that they would probably value a little bit higher than Jalen Walker in that situation. But I think he'll be there at 8. I honestly think that for me, looking at Carolina, if they stick and pick, just look. Don't be surprised if Mykel Williams is the pick though. Like with that, his body type, the inside outside versatility, his run defense, like that's a big part of why that defense struggled last year. Can't get off the field on third downs because first and second downs you're allowing teams to run the ball well. They're in third and manageable. You look at what Mykel can do. Mykel can come in, help set the edge, help close some of those doors and those run lanes on that defensive line and at the line of scrimmage. Then also be a guy that can develop. The key to it is the defensive line coach the guy that develop him, and then can Evero get him where he needs to be and use him like it to up to his skill set? Those are going to be the questions, and that they're going to have to answer in the war room when they're on the clock, or as the clock is creeping up to them at number 8.
All right, so philosophically with the Panthers, I mean, to recap free agency, went after defensive tackle Milton Williams, didn't get him. Patriots got him. They had more money to pay him, right? Panthers quickly pivot and get a handful of rotational or starting players for a defense that needed improving. And I think there's a faction of folks out there, fans or even media, that say, okay, that allows them to now go offense with the 8th pick. I question whether those fans or media watched the same 17 games that I did last year, because that defense was painful. I think it is improved on paper with the moves that they made. You got Trayvon Merrick coming in at safety. That room still needs work. You've got, we talked about Turk Wharton coming from Kansas City, had 6.5 sacks last year. Bobby Brown, who can help stop the run. Kid they got from Minnesota, the kind of ascending pass rusher. But I don't think they're done there. This is a team that we've now heard from reports is, quote, obsessed with fixing the defense. I think they still got to be obsessed with it at 8. But do you think there's any chance they go wide receiver, tight end, or tackle at 8?
I think there's a slight chance they can go offense at 8, but listening to Dave Canales talk, he's adamant about fixing this defense, and I think that they're going to really value that at the 8th pick. And simply because it's like, you could get it to Torrey McMillan. I know I've seen some Panthers, some fans on Twitter and Panthers Twitter mention Matthew Golden to bring that explosiveness, that speed, the deep ball to this offense and everything like that. But I think with them, it's like, okay, if we can get that playmaker, that defensive playmaker to play edge or whatever, or at 8, whether it's Mykel, Jalen Walker, what have you. On day 2, you think about guys like, truthfully, Jalen Royals from Utah State, wide receiver, Isaiah Bond, Jalen Noel. I think for me, it's just like they need to just get guys that fit the style that Bryce plays. Where are the areas of the field that he targets the most? Get guys that can frequently occupy and win in those specific areas of the field. We see his connection with Adam Thielen. I heard Dave Canales talk about, I think, he's excited and expecting a leap from Xavier Legette. He likes the upside and everything else. They believe in him. And I believe what he's saying. So if you feel like Xavier Legette could be that wide receiver 1, it allows Jalen Coker to get matchups that are favorable to him. Adam Thielen can continue to work out of the slot. And then you work that rookie in from day 2, with, like I said, 3rd round, like a Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond, one of those guys that can bring speed and run after catch ability. I think that's what you want more than anything, is to get some guys that have athleticism, but also make plays with the ball in their hands, because that's what Bryce Young is really good at, getting the ball out quick, surveying the defense, reading what's happening quickly, getting it to his playmakers, and you need guys that can make plays for him.
All right, again, we are here with Damian Parson from Locked On NFL Draft here on our Live Impact News on WCNC+. We're going to do segments every Thursday leading up to the draft in 3 weeks. Damian's got the rock first, and he's toting it well, man. So a trade back, which seems like the more likely scenario than Carolina trading up from 8. Who would that mean isn't there and available at 8? Like, what are the names that you think they're really honed in on that they would absolutely, as you said, stick and pick? And who could they go back and get, and how far?
Man, I think if they were to, I think like probably a Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams more than anything. If Torres off the board, they might decide to do that if they really wanted to improve the offense. But I think if they looking at defense and one of their top defensive guys, especially off the edge, Jalen Walker or Michael, who Michael's stock has been rising. People look at the way he tested it, look at his body type. They see the film is serviceable, and you feel like, okay, you know that the upside is there because, to be honest, Georgia does not really – their defensive line prospects don't really come out like – pass rush ready, like truthfully, like Trayvon Walker had to really develop with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nolan Smith with the Eagles, they don't come out fully developed, so you banking on that upside with the Michael Williams. I think if those guys are off the board, I think they could decide to trade down, and you look at potentially. I know Panther fans do not want Shamar Stewart because he is a guy that's very unproven. But I wouldn't be so shocked if
he doesn't have the stats, right? And I can't wait to ask Dan Morgan how much he looks at college productivity when weighing a decision like this, because that's the big question, right? Like, do you think there are valid reasons why Shamar Stewart had a low sack number at Texas A&M and that the Panthers should draft him in somewhere in those teens?
Yeah, I think when you look at that defense, Texas A&M was one of those few teams. They rotated guys at a consistent rate, and it's at times it's very frustrating when you're watching film because then you're just like, okay, this guy's not on the field as much as, or he's not in the same position. So they would play him kind of interior D line, they'll play him edge, and I think for me, watching him at the Senior Bowl, the second day of practice, he stopped trying to do all the speed, the power stuff, and he wanted to win quickly, and he did. And just some numbers here on true drop back sets, he had a pass rush win rate of 22%. He had 21 hurries, 1 QB hit, and 2 sacks on true drop back passing sets. So when the quarterback has to throw, there's no play action. It's 3rd and 10, and they have to drop back and throw it. He got back there all the time for that Texas A&M defense. His upside is immense. He's got the measurables. He's got the athleticism. It's just a simple fact of he has a lot of pressures. And I always say this, pressures are just sacks that aren't converted. Now it's all about the defensive line coach. Can you get him to a point where he's converting at least maybe a third of those pressures into sacks to where you can get 5 to 8 as a rookie and then keep kind of ballooning and going north. And I think he should be somebody that the Panther fans are just scorned from guys who aren't like ready to play. And from some of the recent picks and failed picks they've had over the last 5 to 7 years, they're a little scorned, but I would not bypass, or I wouldn't look at Shamar Stewart as a guy that just won't get it done. He has everything in his bag and in his body to do it. Just trust that your defensive line coaches or your defensive coaches, period, will put him in those positions to do so. I think he's a guy that you could look at if you traded back into the teens to be one of those edge rushers, because, again, they have to fix that specific position. And also, for me, a guy that he's rising my board, Donovan Ezeroku from Boston College. 6'2", 250, 34-inch arms. Guy's explosive. He's got physical ability, the ability to convert speed to power. If you traded somewhere in the mid-teens, I'm telling you, I would not be shocked if a team wanted to take him as a top 20 pick. I know I would, because he's one of the more natural pass rushers. He's instinctive. He has a great feel for the game. He has a very nice spin counter. He knows how to set guys up vertically, and having that fastball or that bucket getter off the edge is so important in today's NFL.
Hopefully his name fits a little better than on our lower third title here, but we tried to get it up there, Damian, and we're trying to keep up with you here. We got about a minute and a half left. I want to wrap up with this. We've known Dan Morgan around here for a long time. Last year, we met Trader Dan. His first draft, he made a trade of every pick that he had. So when you look at the Panthers, they got number 8 to lead off. They've got 3 in the top 75, 2 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and then a 7th. What does that look like to you in terms of what Dan Morgan could do as far as maneuvering 3 Thursdays from now?
Yeah, I think, day 2, if you want to move up, and like I said, if you want to go D-line at 8, right? Like if you don't trade down, you stick and pick, you get Michael, you get Jalen Walker, you get that defensive young piece for your front 7, great. And I think on day 2, maybe you package some of those picks up, 1 or 2 of those picks, and try to move up a little higher if you start to see some of these talented this is a solid wide receiver class. It's not like last year's, right? The past couple years. It's unfair to even do that to these young men. But you think about Luther Burden and Emeka Ibuka, those type of guys falling into day two. If you want to package some of those day two picks, like a third and with a fifth, and try to move up and go get a guy like Luther Burden, go get a guy like Emeka Ibuka, or if you really feel like, hey, Isaiah Bond would be great with Bryce. They were teammates during Bryce's final year at Alabama. Maybe see if you can rekindle some of the things that they had going on in practice. Great, because he brings that speed that nobody else on the team or on that offense has. I think that could be a situation. But also look out for the running back position, right? Jonathan Brooks tearing another ACL after coming off a torn ACL. That's a hard blow to recover from, 2 ACL tears in this loaded running back class. I think that they can go get themselves a guy that can complement Chuba Hubbard very well, a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, Brashard Smith from SMU, maybe Trevor Etienne, on day 3 out of Georgia, guy that can run routes, catch the ball out of the backfield, be that sub, that third down guy. He's pretty solid in pass protection at times. I think that they can go a bevy of ways, a myriad of ways in this draft after going potentially defense, in the first round, and just trying to add some more pieces, some more explosive. I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to seeing how Dan Morgan maneuvers. Does he get explosive offensively? I think they should.